My American story, I guess, begins with my grandfather, Meyer Franklin, and he came to the United States um, from from Eastern Europe, specifically Lithuania, um, near a town called Druskinkai. And he was 16 years old when he came over. But the reason he came over, fleeing persecution, was in his village. Uh, there were pogroms, and what a pogrom is, government-sponsored, for lack of a better word, terrorism, where people would come in, raid the village. I am not only Eastern European, but I am from Jewish descent, and my faith is Jewish. My grandfather was very Orthodox, an Orthodox Jew, and in Eastern Europe, Jewish people lived in villages called shtetls. Russian government would have state-sponsored soldiers or groups come in, and they'd rape and they'd pillage these villages, and they'd try to find out if there were any valuables at all whoever owned various valuables in their households, such as, for example, Kiddush cups, which might have some silver in them. My grandfather found out who some of these informants were. Some Jewish families thought that the best way to protect their own family was to inform the government who might have these valuables. And these informants obviously were not looked upon very kindly by the Jewish residents, because these people are living within their midst, and they're traitors. They're betraying them. So, from what I hear from my uncles and my father, who's passed away, they told me that a warning was given to this particular informant, and he wouldn't stop giving information about who owned particular valuables. So my grandfather, and I don't know how he did it, at 16 years old, somehow obtained a pistol or a gun. And after a warnings, I think the story goes, I guess he shot this particular informant. And then my great-grandfather had to get him out of the country, and they smuggled him in a hay wagon to the nearest port. And he made it out, and somehow he managed to sponsor his family coming over here. The great-grandfather came, but many of his brothers and sisters were killed in the Holocaust, the ones that remained. But he did get his mother and father here as well. He started out in Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, and worked his way up to Worcester, Massachusetts, and he became a tailor by trade. And he heard in Worcester, he worked for a department store in Worcester, but he heard that he could really make a very good living making dresses and being a tailor for men, both men and women, suits, customizing their clothing, that kind of thing. So he opened up a tailor shop in Webster, Massachusetts, and that's where my family is originally from. I just thought that was kind of an interesting story. It kind of, in some ways, it's a sad story because it shows what he was fleeing from, but then again, it makes me appreciate being the freedoms that we enjoy today. Freedom of religion, everything. Why we're here in the Norman Rockwell Museum, the four freedoms. Although freedom of religion, freedom of speech, it makes me very proud and to be an American. And I think my family has prospered, so I'm very proud of that. Very proud to be able to tell his story.